Hello everyone, and welcome back to the next Debates of Fire video. This time we will be discussing Wings of Fire Book 15, and this comes with very heavily pushed spoiler warning. This book came out just last week at time of writing, so you have been warned. Not only will this include spoilers for not only Book 15, but it will also include spoilers for all of the books of Arc 3, and minor spoilers for characters of the second arc, but not as heavily. So let's get into it. First of all, starting with the story, I'm going to do a quick summary for those of you who are strange and decided to watch this instead of reading the book. Basically, one dragon from each tribe went to Pentala to free everyone from the mind control and try to save everyone from the world being destroyed. To do this, they had to find the Abyss, described to be a giant green glowing crevice in a cave. Along the way, the party is ambushed by 20 or so hivewings and a silkwing, where Kibli, Moon, Tsunami, and Pineapple are captured. Sundew and Lynx go to rescue them, while Luna, Bullfrog, Sky, Wren, and Cricket go to the Abyss. Along the way, Luna's party meets a human named Axolotl, who leads them to the cavern where Briony, Hemlock, and the rest of the Bloodworm Hive silkwings are. Luna picks up a small dragonette without a family named Dusky and reunites with Tau. Although I suppose Luna actually never really met Tau, so, she gets to meet Tau. Dusky gets captured and taken to the Abyss, and Luna follows. The two of them get trapped and thrown into where our main antagonists, Cottonmouth and Lizard, who I will be referring to as Freedom, are. Basically, for half the book, Luna is trying to convince Freedom to free her and tell her how to defeat the Breath of Evil, which she succeeds at after Moon shows a memory of each dragon from the party, more or less. The trick to defeating the plant was to cut the vine under the skull of Freedom. Luna does so, and she gives Lizard the name Freedom, and everybody is happy, yada yada. I skimmed over a lot in that explanation, but it wasn't supposed to be the whole book. So now, on to my opinions. I honestly hated it. For the last book of this series that may ever be, I couldn't have thought of a weaker ending if I tried to. The build-up was so good and creative, just for it to come down to needing to cut a vine? What? Dewey, what were you thinking? With that said, the book itself was fine. I found myself having a roller coaster of emotion and not being able to put it down. But honestly, it wasn't worth the year of waiting I went through to get it. So now, getting over my opinion and talking about the book itself. It was really good. I mean, yes, it's pretty juvenile. All Wings of Fire books are. But holding it up to the bar Wings of Fire is usually put at, I think it's better than most of them. Certainly better than book 10 in terms of ending, and honestly, in my opinion, the same thing could be said about Book 5. But comparing the ending to Divergent, or pretty much any other series I like and have invested time in, it just doesn't hit the mark. Again, it's not bad, it's just not as good as it could have been. Now that I've laid that out on the table, I can't just criticize it without saying how I'd fix it too. Honestly, the part I hate the most is the end, so I'll start there. I feel like Freedom was cheated. I understand that it makes sense that she died and all of that, but honestly, if I were Tui, I would have found some way to keep her around because I think she could have been an awesome member to the series, even if it doesn't continue. I'm not going to touch on Animus Magic too heavily, but I will say I'm pretty upset that it's gone, but that's a future Debates of Fire. Along with the ending, I would have let Luna keep Dusky. I don't know, just with everything they went through together, I kind of feel like they needed each other, but I also get that his mom was still alive, but she shouldn't have been. And outside of that, the only thing was that the first half of the book was incredibly slow and boring, but honestly, I have no way to fix that. For the things I liked about the book now, I really love the dynamic between the 10 dragons, and can I just talk about how awesome Bullfrog is? I mean, seriously, I wish he said more and could have been featured more, but I really enjoyed him. And while we're talking about dynamic, Pineapple and Jambu. this ship was 100% pointless and just thrown in there, but I love it so much. Luna as a protagonist was interesting. She was honestly pretty good, and I'm glad I got to learn more about my favorite butterfly dragon. I also loved seeing Ren again, and honestly, the human connections in this book didn't bother me that much. Yes, the fact that humans in Wings of Fire, period, are a thing really bothers me, but I think Tui did a good job of making them important without making them the focal point. Touching on more individual things, and I've seen other people saying. First off, I've seen a few select posts saying that kids shouldn't be allowed to read this book, and Scholastic and Tui should be put to shame for the content in it. Honestly, I disagree with all of that with my being. Yes, some of the topics and how they were handled are a bit questionable, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. This book series is aimed for more young teens anyway. Some examples of this are people saying that freedom was a result of animal experimentation and that the end of the book was basically assisted suicide. It's also said that Axolotl was misrepresented as non-binary, which honestly, I don't really have much to say on that, but I figured I'd bring it up. It was also said that Cottonmouth was supposed to be Native American or Mayan and painted them in a bad light. For starters, it is said that freedom was stolen from a nest. There was no experimentation to be had. Yes, there was mistreatment of animals, but there was no experimenting. Although I would acknowledge that Cottonmouth was trying to figure out the breath of evil and how it was used was a bit questionable, it didn't touch on that enough to be considered experimentation. And yes, it could convey that Luna cutting the vine was helping Freedom kill herself, but honestly, I don't think that's fair. Freedom refused to tell Luna how to defeat the breath of evil because she didn't want to die. So I feel like that's a very unfair accusation. I honestly have nothing to say on the axolotl subject, as I don't know enough about the topic to have an opinion one way or the other. I will say, though, the fact that axolotl was non-binary felt really pushed, and while I don't know much about the subject, I really didn't like Axolotl as a character because it felt like Tui was just looking for representation, and it was more like, what gender should this character be? Well, I don't have a non-binary character, so... And I hate that. I don't like that. It is unneeded representation that wasn't handled correctly, in my opinion. Lastly, with Cottonmouth, all I'm going to say is that I'm Native American, and whether that matters to you or not, I simply don't see anything wrong with it. Something we need to keep in mind is that this is a fantasy book, so whether it was intentional or not, these people in this book aren't real. They aren't meant to paint anyone in any light, and more than that, they shouldn't represent either of those cultures in anyone's mind. Again, this is fantasy. It's not real. If this was a book that took place in the real world, then everyone would be justified on their opinions in that. But it's not. Final thoughts? Well, I think it was a very weak ending to a very strong childhood series. But getting the crappy ending aside, I honestly don't have much to complain about. I was so happy to learn more about the Scorching, and the epilogue made me so happy. I would totally live in the Silkleaf Kingdom. And lastly, for fan art, I've gotten a lot since the last video, so here we go. We have 2 pieces of Astrid, the first one by Howling, the second one by the Weird One. I have one of Kitsune by Owl, 2 of Mycelium by Metalink and Bioraptor. I have one of Andromeda by Metalink. There's one of Jade by Metalink. I love this so much. It captures their energy perfectly. And here are the 2 pieces I have a lot to say about. The first one is by Howling of Stardust. This was actually a commission, but I wanted to put it in this video because it needs more credit. There's a link to their DeviantArt in the description. Go check him out. And lastly, this piece is by my good friend Equinox Raven. They spent 12 hours on this piece, and it was all out of kindness of their heart. I absolutely love it. This is one of the sweetest gifts I think I've ever gotten. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted fan art. I treasure it all dearly. I don't think you guys know how much I genuinely appreciate it. So that's it. That's my Wings of Fire Book 15 video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you enjoyed, please consider liking. If you really enjoyed, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!